We understand the plans that you have and other places have, testing, tracing. You don't have the money to do what you need to do to get done what triggers the different phases of your plan. You've gotten it taken to you coming and going from the federal government. Just to be fair for the audience, what you need to do with testing, do you have the money to do it right now?
Yeah. First, on your comment about friends and family,
It was
your
an
wife
aside.
Delilah called me before the show and said go easy on you because
wife
you're still
who?
not at full strength. So I've been going easy on you. Delilah.
Who is that?
From the Bible.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Check. We will. Here's the first question. You're right. States need funding. States need funding, A, for testing, tracing. B, states need money because we have a deficit
Right.
after the coronavirus.
And you
because
have not
the
been given that
coronavirus
money.
Stopped everything.
So you don't have enough.
Right.
All right.
Right. If
So you
they
can't do
don't
it.
pass a piece of legislation, Chris, well, hold it a second. They were supposed to do it this week. They are going to come back next week. If they don't pass a piece of legislation, game over. Game over.
But how do they pass
Because
a
if you
piece of
don't pass
legislation?
legislation-
President tweeted today, no legislation unless there's stuff for hotels in it and immigration. Come on. Those are poison pills.
Well,
You're not going to get anything out
look,
of Nancy Pelosi with
they-
those things in it.
Well, and that's exactly right. And look, I believe the Democrats feel burned from the bill they passed 2 weeks ago, the bill that had the money for the small businesses, but didn't do police, didn't do fire, didn't do school teachers, didn't do state and local government, right? And everybody said, don't worry, we'll work it out. And now it looks like the political divide is getting even bigger. If they don't pass legislation, they don't provide funding, states will suffer, every state, Democratic state, Republican states. They won't do the testing. They won't have the money for the tracing. They won't be able to bring back their economy. It'll be classic Washington divisive politics.
But that is what's happening.
And the president is supposed to be, the president is supposed to be a leader. You want to be a leader in a crisis, then lead and be the bridge above the politics. Build the bridge from the Republicans to the Democrats. Don't get into this partisan fight. It will come back to the president. And you'll see this nation in real peril. It will really hurt not just how we handle the coronavirus, but how we come out of this economy. So if they don't get a piece of legislation passed and they don't stop this politics, which, by the way, is absurd, we shouldn't bail out the blue states. First of all, it's Republicans and Democrats who get killed by the virus. It doesn't pick just Republicans or Democrats.
On that. And I got to tell you, your people, Chuck Schumer, he's being very vocal about testing, and the president, he didn't fight for you to get the money at the state level for testing or to fill the budget hole. And, look, the House is run by Democrats. Why don't you give them a little bit of the stick?
Well, Speaker Pelosi she cannot pass a piece of legislation that leaves out police, fire, and state and local governments. She cannot do it. Well, she can't do it again. And those congressional Democrats cannot come back to their home state, like New York, like California, like Illinois, and say, we lost again. And there's no funding to do the testing and the tracing and funding for teachers and schools. And we're going to have an economic collapse from a state budget point of view.
Big brother, they just did it. They just said, look at all this money we gave them. This is great. And then you came out and complained and said, hey, there are other states that we need more. We can't do what you're asking us to do. And they say nothing. They didn't defend the decision. They didn't say they'd do more.
Yeah. They funded entities within a state, small businesses, hospitals, et cetera. You know what they gave state and local governments? This.
That's my point.
You know what this is?
Right.
That's what, so far. That can't happen again, and you can't fund the reopening run by a state without funding. And this nonsense of it's a blue state bailout. Bailout? First of all, this state was doing great before the coronavirus. I just need help to get back from the disaster of the economy given the coronavirus. And second, you're bailing out blue states? This state has bailed out Mitch McConnell every year for decades. We pay into that federal pot, $29 billion more than we take back. McConnell goes home with $37 billion more than he puts in. He walks around Washington with his hand out and has for decades. Florida takes home $30 billion more than they put in. That's been every year. That goes back to the 70s.
But your own part. Look, I'm not. I hear you on
fundamental
McConnell.
realignment.
I hear you on McConnell. I hear the game. He happened to have won that round. I don't think you get another round.
No, he didn't win.
Well, you didn't get the money.
Well, if there's no additional legislation,
But
and
Trump
they
just
don't have
asked for
additional
hotels
funding,
and immigration. Who's going to give him that on the Democratic side? Pelosi's not going to give him that.
well, if that's what the Republicans stick to, there will be no legislation. If there is no legislation, there will be no funding. And all these governors who are talking about testing and tracing programs, that won't happen. This great economic comeback, we're back, we're back, we're back, that's not going to happen. So it will rest as to whether or not Washington can stop this partisan bickering in the middle of a crisis and actually come together and pass a piece of legislation.
Let me ask you something. You seem to have changed through this process. You sound, different. You're taking on what's happening in the federal government. Some say that it is evidence of a shift in ambition. Some say that going on shows like Ellen, where she's pumping your head up with helium about how great you are, the cover of Rolling Stone, that you now, as we used to say in the neighborhood, think who you are. Do you believe that there has been a shift in your ambitions and in your sense of yourself because of all these new friends you seem to have?
Yeah, some say I shouldn't come on this show because you harass me.
Too much fierce
and
accountability?
provoke me.
Can't take it? Want a pat on the back?
No, it's
Love
not
go?
fierce account. It's ad hominem attacks.
Don't speak Spanish on
Ellen,
my show.
First, I'm a fan of Ellen. To do Ellen's show was a pleasure for me. I'm a big fan of Ellen. Yes, she said nice things about me.
Yes, she did.
Which she didn't say about you,
Nope.
but she was just telling the truth. And nothing about me has changed. I haven't been in the basement. I haven't had my wife shear my hair out of resentment. None of that has happened to me. I'm just doing my job, which is what I've always done.
The word from the governors in the consortium is great idea, like working with you on the policy level. You talk about yourself in the third person. True or false? It's not a denial. True or
Not
false?
true.
That you say Cuomo thinks,
Not
Cuomo
true.
says,
False.
we should ask
False.
Andrew. Are you sure?
False. False.
Do you think
False.
that you are an attractive person now because you're single and ready to mingle? Do you really think you are some desirable single person and that this is not just people's pain coming out of them?
I think beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
Listen to you. You got an answer for anything. You're feeling pretty good about yourself these days, aren't you? Here's what I like about it. You are ready for a fight, and you know that you have a long way to go. And I know that that's what drives your passion about sticking with these positions, because you know it's a long game. And I respect that, and I know it as well. And I wish you well. And I appreciate you coming here to answer the tough questions. We won't always be able to do it. The dynamic will shift. And you're going to be held accountable for what happens in ways that your brother just can't do it. But for now, it is good to get more out of you, I think, than other people, because you know I know the answers to a lot of these questions. And I know their plans. Let's just go on one quick thing. Where your party is right now, you really think you guys are going to win in November against this president, one of the most fierce campaigners of all time, when things may well be looking better from a pandemic perspective in November? You really think you got a shot to win?
Yeah, I don't think this is, first, for the record, I do a lot of interviews. Nobody is more probing, annoying, and disrespectful than you are.
Fierce accountability were the words you were looking for. Go, continue. Love, go.
Yeah, I know, fierce. Second, I don't think this is going to be the normal political campaign. I don't think it's going to be about campaigning. I think it's going to be a referendum on governance and government and performance and what happens and how management in the middle of a crisis affects people's lives. This is life and death. This is not rhetoric and buttons and balloons here, my brother. This is life and death totals and reactions on reopenings and how reopenings were handled. This is deadly serious, and that's what this election is going to be about. How did it work? How did the leadership actually perform? And it's going to change politics going forward, because it's going to change the way people think about government now. It's no longer about celebrity and tweets and Instagram. This is a serious business, and you have to know what you're doing. And leadership shows, and leadership in a crisis shows. And when you put pressure on people, you see them in a way you've never seen them before. And that's what people are going to react to on Election Day.
I'll tell you what, if you wind up being right about that, that as soon as whatever passes for a convention happens, that it doesn't become who's worse and a battle of the personalities, gas on me for the rest of the summer. Brother, I love you and I appreciate you.